Hey there gamers, DreamcastGuy here, and it has now been about a month since the Nintendo Switch 2 initially came out. I bought one day one, and I had some viral videos talking about how much I hated this, but I wanted to be open-minded to having my mind changed. So for the entire month of June, this was my primary gaming device. I actually kept it with me constantly, playing it at the gym or out at the cafe, or just anytime I wasn't actually doing something that required my attention. I'd do a couple laps in Mario Kart or boot up some NSO games or something. And I wanted to talk about my thoughts after playing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of it, because I still feel like I'm in a spot where this feels incredibly overpriced, especially for some of these accessories and stuff, but I'm beginning to see the potential long term, and I can see why. The people that love this, I think I'll be on your side soon, but currently, this still has some issues that absolutely, in my opinion, are unforgivable, but let's break it down. Hi, hope you're having a great day, and if you could please, give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Now, I want to divide this video in half. I want to talk about this as two separate chunks, the hardware and the software, because currently there is a lot of issues. Just in general, I feel like even people that own the Nintendo Switch 2, they're encountering problems and some benefits they perhaps didn't imagine. But let's start by talking about the system itself. Now, the Nintendo Switch 2 is definitely a bigger, beefier device. It's got a bigger just layout. It's got bigger controllers. And in a lot of ways, it definitely feels better made. Like, one of the things I actually think is the coolest thing, it sounds so subtle, but with the original Nintendo Switch, the Joy-Cons slid off vertically, which was fine. I think, obviously, it worked pretty damn well. It was cool to have this nice clicking aesthetic, where with this, they come off of the sides. So I've been playing this thing handheld quite a bit, especially when I'm out and about. It's cool to just be able to, pull this out of my backpack, just yank it out of the carrying case and start trying it out. And I do think that these magnetic grips are fantastic. They are truly so extremely good. The battery life on that is great. I've always thought that Nintendo has some of the very best controller battery life, and these new Joy-Cons, I think they are truly, truly, truly top-notch. My problem is the fact that I still feel like the bigger system does not feel good in my hands. These bigger Joy-Cons just don't rest naturally the way they do with the original Nintendo Switch. And I feel like it just kind of feels a bit odd having something that is just like 30% bigger. It just feels a bit strange in the palm. I may eventually adapt, but I have to admit that the way the original Nintendo Switch controllers kind of rested in the crux of your knuckles, that was so nice. And that's something you definitely don't get with this. And especially because since this is a heavier system, I have a lot of friends I've been playing this a lot with, specifically Splatoon. I have like a Splatoon group I play with a couple hours every single night, and they've been complaining about the fact that you really can't play this handheld really for any actual length of time, especially if it's not a game with good graphics. The battery life of this is pathetic. I mean, straight up, I've seen all sorts of estimations. If you're playing this, a game that's truly next-gen, something like even Mario Kart World or Cyberpunk or even a lot of Nintendo Switch 1 games, if they're open world, this battery life is about 2 hours. And that's if you're playing it with low sound and not the maximum amount of brightness. This has a truly unforgivable battery life. Now, a lot of tech guru people have said that this is just the limits of battery technology. Just in general, bigger batteries, stuff that has better battery life, it's going to be way, way, way too heavy. And I have to say that even now, this thing feels a bit too heavy to me. Just in general, to comfortably hold it, I have found myself getting in the habit of always setting it on something. Just setting it up on a table at the coffee shop or setting it on the exercise bike at the gym. It just doesn't feel comfortable to hold it for very long. And it does kind of suck that the second you take it off that charger, you can watch it ticking down about 1% per minute, which just, it's unforgivably short. Now, the other part of hardware we need to discuss is that, honestly, the controllers are so expensive, but I wanted to do my due diligence, and I actually bought multiple. I bought a new Pro controller for the Nintendo Switch 1, and I've been playing with that a lot. I have that right here. This is the Pro controller for the Nintendo Switch 1. I bought one specifically just for testing purposes, and I've been using it quite a bit because I wanted to compare it directly to the Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller. This thing is fantastic. This thing is perfection. It feels great. It has a very sturdy build quality. It is just truly the best controller that Nintendo has ever made by an absolute mile. And additionally, I do want to say that this thing is so good, it makes me want to actually play PC games and stuff with it. It's actually that comfortable. Just from the lift, the heft, the comfortability of it, it is absolutely perfect. To the point in which, if they ever release a special edition Nintendo Switch 2 controller, which of course they're going to do that at some point, I'm going to buy more of them. Just because I want this to be something that when I'm playing Mario Kart with the bros or Mario Party or whatever, I want everybody to have this exact controller. It is legit that good. But for as good as the Pro controller is, as funky as the Joy-Cons are, the big, strange new controller is the GameCube controller. Now, this thing has a massive glaring issue to the point in which I actually had to Google it because I thought I was going crazy. Well, when it comes to controllers, you could reprogram them. A lot of stuff on the Nintendo Switch allows remapping. You can make a trigger, a button, a click stick, do a start button. You can move stuff around quite a bit, and it's pretty cool. It's actually nice that you can customize stuff, especially if you're trying to play stuff with just one Joy-Con. It's cool that you can remap it to perfectly fit your preferences. Whereas now, with this, the GameCube controller cannot be reprogrammed. And the reason that sucks is that, honestly, for every single game, the triggers are the opposite of what you would think. So the shoulder buttons swap with the triggers, meaning that things like Splatoon, things like Resident Evil, they straight up are unplayable. This also does not have a minus button. Instead of having start and select, the Nintendo Switch, of course, has a plus and a minus button. This does not have a minus button. And because you can't reprogram it, any games that require a minus button to pause or whatever, they're literally unplayable. But the part that really made this annoying to me, the reason I bought this wasn't just to play GameCube NSO games. The Nintendo Switch Online GameCube games, we're going to talk about those. I got some roasting to do. My thing is that, honestly, I played this because I wanted to play through all the Resident Evils. They had a Resident Evil sale when the Nintendo Switch 2 came out. I bought RE4, RE5, and I bought Resident Evil, the original remake from GameCube, and my idea was to play it with the original GameCube controller. I thought that'd be so cool to do a true nostalgia throwback. You can't. This doesn't really work at all with the Nintendo Switch retro games. I mean, it only works on Nintendo Switch Online, essentially. And this, to me, is such a bafflingly lazy mistake. To me, it just seems like, how the hell am I playing ported GameCube games that don't work with the GameCube controller? This is $70. I bought this recently. This cost me $92. The system itself was $500. I can't help but just think that for the price tag, as good quality as a lot of this stuff is, it actually feels like it just costs so much. It really feels almost abusive in a way. Now, we have to talk about the screen drama. A lot of Nintendo Switch fans have been very offended about, the facts of the fact that a lot of people have done some deep dive analysis about how bad this screen is. They claim, I don't see it. This has an incredibly low quality screen that's worse than the original Nintendo Switch, than the Nintendo Switch OLED, than the Switch Lite. This has a strange blurring effect. And when it's in motion, maybe you don't notice it as much, but I do feel like as you play stuff, moving the menus around, playing 2D stuff, there is definitely a very apparent delay to stuff that just looks slightly off. I'm not going to claim it's game breaking. I'm not going to claim it's unplayable, but there is definitely something very strangely messed up about this screen that when you're trying to play it, I do feel like it's distracting at times. Now, let's talk about the software, and I want to talk a bit about some of the new features of this. And I want to start with game chat. Now, this is something I want to test thoroughly because it is the new sort of bells and whistles, completely new function specifically for the Nintendo Switch 2. When you get the Switch 2 or you get the Switch 2 Pro controller, there's a big button, a C. And when you press this C, it automatically pops up game chat. Now, this is something that allows you to essentially, finally, voice chat directly on your Nintendo Switch. Now, not only does it voice chat on your Nintendo Switch, it voice chats with your Nintendo Switch. This actually has a built-in microphone. It has built-in noise cancellation that is extremely good. It gets very, very hot in this room. I will blast this AC unit. When I'm playing Splatoon with my bros, you can't hear anything except my crystal clear voice. The quality of it is actually shockingly good, but the other thing that Game Chat does is that when you're playing it, you can plug in your webcam. Okay, look, you're in the little corner. That's great. The part of it that's cool is that you don't have to necessarily be in one game. You can just hang out like in a Discord group chat. I feel like all of us do that now. You sit in a group call with your bros and say, hey, check out this meme. Hey, how's your day? Hey, what are them titties like? There's that ability. Whereas now, I think what's coolest about this is that you can share screens and you can click the game chat button and say, I want this person's screen to be full screen. Now, it is low frame rate. I have to admit, though, that this to me is actually a pretty damn cool feature. The more I've messed with it, I've played it quite a bit now. And at one point, me and my friends were talking about buying Fantasy Life. One of my bros already did buy it, and he showed me around his island. He said, here's what I'm doing. Here's my customization. Here's the stuff that I do. Here's how the adventuring works. It's cool that I can just put his gameplay up full screen and watch him play. And even if it is low frame rate, I still think that's actually a pretty neat feature. But I will still say, I don't think that should have a cost. Maybe that's me, but this does have a monthly fee. It's going to be free for the first year because they want people to get addicted to it. But starting in 2026, you have to pay for Game Chat. Now, I'm not sure. I've seen different sources claim it's going to be free as part of Nintendo Switch Online. I've seen some people say that Nintendo Switch Online will still be, $2 a month? But if you want Game Chat, it'll be like $3 a month. I just feel like it should be lumped in. The same way where when you get PlayStation Plus, you have online, you have party chat, you have cloud saves. They're all just grouped together. I think it should just be like, hey, you can play online. Here's the standard online group chat. I will say that I do think Game Chat is definitely better than I originally expected it to be, even if it is weird that I have to register my phone number and stuff to it. Now, let's talk video games. I think my biggest problem right now with the Nintendo Switch 2 is the fact that it really doesn't have much to play. It really just doesn't have much overall. You can play Mario Kart. You can play Cyberpunk. You can play Bravely Default Remake, which in my opinion, even though I am enjoying that game, it definitely should not be $40. Honestly, the fact that it's a remake of a 3DS game, that should have been released on the original Nintendo Switch. Making that a Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive was just scummy. And then there's Fast Fusion. I bought, I think, all the Nintendo Switch launch games, at least all the ones I wanted to play, and they're all cool, but I don't feel like there's that big, stunning, tech-focused game. I always like whenever there's that next-gen game that really feels like it's the impossible feat, that game that is just so much better at crowd density or resolution or frame rate. You go, oh yeah, that's next-gen. And I have to admit that nothing quite yet feels like that at all for the Nintendo Switch 2, and that's kind of boring if I'm being honest. Now, with that being said, the graphical boost of Nintendo Switch 1 games has been nice. A lot of games across the board, especially in handheld, run better. They look better. There's a lot of games that were sort of stuttery 30 FPS that would sometimes dip down to 22 FPS or something like that. A lot of games that did run bad are now a rock solid 60 FPS. And I think that's really, really cool. As a person with a big back catalog of games I like to play from the original Nintendo Switch, as a person that bought the Nintendo Switch on day one, I do think it's cool I can play all those old games and all the new games at once. But at times I do wish that there was something that felt, I don't know, more significant. You know how they released that next-gen patch for Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom and actually said, hey, here's something that feels like a huge, huge boost to the point in which you have to pay for it. I kind of want to see more games with that. I know they're doing it in the future. They're doing one for Kirby's getting Switch 2 DLC. That's pretty cool. Mario Party Jamboree's getting some Switch 2 DLC. I feel like they should have dropped all of that at launch. I don't like when a game comes out and you kind of have to wait to truly see what this system is going to be like. But I must admit that the potential is now fascinating. Seeing how good a lot of games look, how good a lot of games play. I've been playing a lot of Splatoon 3. I'm obsessed with Splatoon. I've mentioned that in the past. The Splatoon 3 Switch 2 patch boosted performance. It fixed some glitches in the main town called the Plaza. There is a lot of stuff that just looks better and cleaner. And it's times like that where I start to think, okay, what is Final Fantasy VII Remake, Intergrade? That's coming. What's that going to look like on my Switch 2? What's Elden Ring? Elden Ring, in my opinion, is one of the best games ever made. Elden Ring coming to the Switch 2. I'm definitely buying that. I'm definitely playing that. I'm definitely going to see what it looks like, what it plays like, what it runs like. The potential of the Nintendo Switch 2 is starting to sort of echo that vibe I had with the original Nintendo Switch, which is that it does feel like right now you're just buying a blank check. You're investing in the stock of hoping the Nintendo Switch 2 continues to get better. My fear, though, is that if this system continues to get more expensive, if games keep getting more expensive, I will say that right now, the primary problem of the Nintendo Switch 2, among everything else, I do think is just the fact that $80 games, $100 controllers, $500 console, that's the kind of stuff that I feel like is going to price people out of a market that used to be the cheapest. Nintendo used to be the kings of basically saying, here's our great games, buy them no matter what. We made them as discounted as possible. We pass that on to our developers, get paid great. Nobody ever quits Nintendo. They have some of the highest developer satisfaction of all time. There always used to be this unique love and passion for Nintendo, which really felt like they wanted you to play their games. Whereas now, it does feel like they're kind of walling off audiences in a way that just feels completely pointless. I will also say that when it comes to game selection, I'm very much enjoying I love Nintendo Switch Online. I love retro games. It's a big folly of mine. I know some people say that, oh, playing old games 15 times in a row, that's not new games. And that's fair. But as a guy who grew up playing a lot of Game Boy Advance, it's cool to be able to play, of course, Metroid Fusion and stuff, or playing Super Nintendo games. I think all that stuff looks great. But the new thing that is exclusive to the Nintendo Switch 2 is the GameCube games. And they're fine. But I feel like releasing 3 of them is just not enough. 3 GameCube games on a system that costs this much, on a service that costs so much, because in order to play the GameCube games, you don't get the basic online, you get the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pass, which I think is like $60 or $50 a year. My thing is that as cool as this is, as glad as I am of these games, I feel like they should have given us 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They should have given us a big bulk of GameCube games. Starting off with 3, it's not just pathetic, it feels disrespectful. Give us some stuff. Show us, I don't know, Pokemon XD or something. Put something like Eternal Darkness on there, or I don't know, Geist, I don't know, some Skies of Arcadia, one of my favorite games of all time. Put that on the GameCube collection, and instantly people will be happy about it. Instantly people will sign up for it. I'm in a spot where I feel like I'm 70-30. I think 70% I like the Nintendo Switch 2 for what it's trying to do and the ideas of what's next. But it still feels like for all they're trying to do right, it does feel like they're skipping out on quality in a way that is just, in my opinion, it's not forgivable. But how do you feel about the Nintendo Switch 2? And how much have you been playing it? Are you just playing a bunch of Mario Kart because that's all the hell we have? Or what retro games are you playing? I'm playing stuff like a lot of Risk of Rain 2. God, that game is so good to play on the treadmill. But tell me your thoughts in the comments down below. And after 1 month of the Nintendo Switch 2, what number would you give it? I do think I'd still probably give it like a 7. Thanks so much for watching, gamers. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and please keep dreaming. Oh, man. Look at that. What is it? The battery went down to 78% filming this video. 78% sitting here with nothing going. Ridiculous. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.